Hey y'all, what's up? Hope everybody's doing good. I had a good day, a busy day, but it was still good. It was a day. It was just a day, and I'm happy for everything that it brought. I love all of you. I'm sending you all love and light from where I am to wherever you are. Today, I wanted to talk about conditional love. We've talked a lot about unconditional love and how to do it, where it derives from, where you can draw references from. But I grew up with a lot of conditional love, and just like when people grow up in abusive homes, around a lot of alcohol, around drugs, around a lot of spending, or whatever someone may have had an obsession with, the kid will either grow up to do the same thing or to do the opposite of that thing. And so to me, I believe in being the Queen of Hearts, but now I'm very much protected with boundaries. I don't just freely offer my cup of love to anyone with my heart on my sleeve anymore, and rightfully so. I should have always been like that, but just like no one taught me how to love unconditionally except for my grandmother. I taught myself to love unconditionally, and when you teach yourself as a kid, sometimes some lessons can be left out because you don't know what you're doing wrong. You don't know what you don't know until you figure out the hard way. And I went the long way around, and I have course corrected. But conditional love was something that was offered by everyone in my family that wasn't my grandmother. And even if I had been able to be with her 100% of the time, she always had people living in her house that did the opposite of what she did. So it would have bled over, probably would have canceled itself out. So I'm glad that I got to see her the times that I did, so that we could be alone when we were together, mostly. But conditional love, there's no balance in the give and take. It's never good enough, no matter how much you try to meet their high standards or high expectations. The love is only going to be supplied if you meet their criteria. So there's rules, there's regulations, there's expectations, there's always strings attached. And I tried to be, and still have to stop myself from trying to obtain perfectionism. Even though I know I've never been perfect, it didn't stop me from wearing myself out trying. I no longer do that. I now embrace my authenticity, and there's lots of flaws in me and things that I will never be good at, and that's just fine. I love me just the way that I am, and I appreciate others that are good at the things that I'm not, and I will praise them and shout them out at every chance I get, because we are all unique and we all have our strengths and weaknesses. There's no sense in being so hard on yourself, or trying to be perfect, because you will never reach that. You will never love yourself. Your cup will never be full or runneth over for you to share with other people if you're on that path of obtaining your true authenticity, your self-worth, and loving yourself fiercely. You're gonna have to drop the expectations that were put onto you by other people, because I feel like we've all experienced conditional love, even if it was just from an employer. If you were lucky enough to have a family or an environment where you grew up that was just, they were so proud of you without you having to meet expectations. They were proud of you and loved you with no strings attached, just because you were yourself. Now, I wish we could all grow up in that environment, but sadly, every single one of us is probably fragmented to a certain degree, because you had to put a mask on. You had to be conditioned and learn to put a mask on in order to be loved by somebody, to be good enough for something. Whether it was a sport, whether it was a job, whether it was your mom or your dad, or romantic partner, which probably stemmed from the mom or the dad, if you trace it back to its origin. But The only time that I feel like there should be a condition put on love is for your protection. If love becomes unsafe, if love becomes unhealthy, then you should know your worth, stand your ground, stand in your power, and protect that. Protect your heart, protect your peace, protect your energy at all costs. And you can still love them unconditionally from your end, but from afar. That's when they need to lose access to you completely. Not just, well, I only see them on Christmas, or I only see them on Thanksgiving, or we have a birthday dinner for me every year, and so I go to have something to do on my birthday, whatever. None. None. You don't owe them anything. I think that's a common misconception, is to say that if you're a lone wolf, that is a disadvantage, when all you need is God. You can have a million people around you in a support system, but that could be a shitty support system. Everybody's stabbing each other in the back, throwing each other under the bus. You only see each other once a year. You're being fake when you do, or everybody's just outright fighting when they do. The only time that you come together is to fight other people. Other than that, you scurry away. I just think that's such a misconception. It's not healthy to have a support system like that. So if you recognize that your support system is like that, and you choose to walk alone, and you choose to trust God for everything that you need, and He will send you strangers. And once you vacate all of that negativity and toxicity from your life, you have claimed your worth. You're vibrating higher automatically. So you've made room for new people that are healthy, that vibrate the same as you and love themselves as well. They know how to reciprocate that and mirror it back to you. You're allowing that into your life. So being a lone wolf doesn't usually last for long if you're working on yourself and you're loving yourself, because the new will come in and it'll be bigger and better and greater than anything that you filled that void with just to have something there in the past. That something was piss. So the longer that you wasted time identifying with that, letting that tell you what you were worth because this is who you choose to hang around, just held you back from all of those great people that could have offered healthy love with no strings attached, that you kept at bay because you chose out of loyalty or familiarity to be around out of complacency. So I just want you to recognize the difference. We've talked a lot about condition or unconditional, but say, for me, my dad was not unconditional, and he was the only parent that I had in my life. I had abandonment issues because my mother cut and run. She didn't want to rise up to meet the standards, and even if she did, it probably wouldn't have been good enough. No matter what she did, no matter what hoops she jumped through, they were hell-bent on taking me, that nothing would have been good enough. She could have had years of sobriety. She could have been not dating, good job, 2 jobs, house, 3 bedrooms, great school district. She could have been doing backflips. It would have not been good enough. Once that train is set into motion, sometimes nothing can stop it, and you just need to let it happen, because if you do what you're supposed to be doing by co-creating with God and building that solid foundation with Him, things will come. He will work. I'll talk about this more because I have a story time kind of about another channel that I threw my 2 cents into the ring today, and I've been hesitating to do that for a long time, but I finally did, because I know my reason in doing it is all in love, and I really want to help this person. I don't have money to give, and there's always a need for donations, and I just wanted to help if I could break her out of that cycle, because my heart has been broken for her for a long time. I've been rooting for her. I've been a cheerleader of hers. I just haven't let her know that, or stepped out of the shadow to put myself in her vision yet, and I did so today. So I'm going to talk about that a little more at the end, because I've said let them for a while, and that is my main message to her, is let them. And I'll say that several times in this message as well, that you just have to let them. Sometimes you have to reteach yourself, rewire your brain, to take that mask off that you have been conditioned to think that you need to receive love from somebody. My dad, of course, wanted my room clean, my homework done, my grades good, my chores done. Um, Penmanship was huge for some reason. I did not have good penmanship, but it really irritated him, which is funny because it was coming from a lefty. And don't get me wrong, I love lefties. Not just because of my dad. I think they're very artistic. I love to see it. I love to see how awkward their hand looks, but yet they manage to pull off some incredible handwriting. It's usually always slanted, and his was very slanted. And I practiced his handwriting as well, and I had his signature down. I only got in trouble for using it once, just once. But that may have been the only time that I used it, because whenever I try to get away with stuff, like as a kid, skipping school, signing some forgery on a progress report, I think it was, I always got caught. I could never get away with anything. I had to be accountable immediately, so I just stopped trying. It didn't ever work out in my favor like it did for my classmates. So I learned my lesson pretty early about that. But anyway, I had to practice over and over. I used to have these National Geographic cards that he bought a subscription to, so I would get a new pack like every week. It was something like the record club or whatever, and I would have to take these cards out about these animals, and I would have to rewrite everything that was on the card, and I'd have to do it over and over and over again until my handwriting was pretty. And it's so funny because I've gotten so many, I don't think my handwriting looks pretty, but so many other people do, and they comment on it all the time. I think it's really messy, but it looks a lot different from when I was a kid. But I had to do all those things, and I had to be perfect at them. And at softball, that was the only thing that he would let me do. I begged to play soccer. I even made it halfway through the tryouts before he wouldn't sign the permission slip and let me continue. I wanted to do dance. I wanted to do cheerleading. I wanted to do Girl Scouts. I wanted to do all these things, but he would only let me play softball. So I loved watching baseball because I was in a family with all boys, so I watched a lot of baseball because they all played. But yeah, I just got really good at softball because it made him happy to watch me, and that was the only thing that he would let me do. So it created a very codependent relationship. And if I was telling him about class, I would be like, oh, my daddy said, and then he got mad at me for that. Why are you always, don't put my name in it? Why is it always daddy said? And it's, looking back, it's because that's all that I knew. I was constantly trying to please him and stay 10 steps ahead of his mood, so that I didn't get the wrath or get punished for not being perfect, for not meeting his high standards, so that I could receive love, so that I could, get a pat on the head. It was never anything overly. He took care of my needs, but he was more of the type to throw things at me, clothes, toys, whatever I wanted from the store, so that I stayed out of his way. And I was an only child until I was like 14 and moved in with an aunt and cousins when he passed away. But I was not upset when he passed away. It took me a long time, and even when I was upset about it, I don't really know why I was upset about it. Maybe I was upset because I thought I should have been upset. And it had been a year, and I still didn't really miss him. And I was like, because I was free. Because I got a get out of jail free card. And that sounds horrible to say about somebody dying. Somebody who took care of me. But it was very conditional. Very conditional. And my uncle as well, same way. It just had to be about me teaching him technology, me cleaning for him. My grandmother's house when he lived there, and she moved out of town for a while. I had to go over there and clean. Of course, he paid me, but he hated to clean, so he was always nice to me if I cleaned for him. If I created resumes for him. I did that a few times. I had to field calls, put my number up when we sold my grandmother's property so that I got all of the phone calls. Nobody else had to do any work. I brought the buyer to him with a big red bow on it, and they sent him a contract and he signed. I negotiated all of that. And then at the end, he was like, "Oh yeah, you did do that. You did." He forgot all about all of the work that I did. He didn't appreciate it. So yeah, I had to be at his beck and call. Whenever I worked 2 jobs, he was at my second job every day, asking me to do something for him, buy something off eBay, whatever. And he only told me he loved me when he realized it was a great tool for manipulation. So that's what those things look like for me. This is what those things might look like for you. You're not going to have the same exact circumstances as me, but I want you to be able to recognize, because sometimes you don't know what's not healthy until somebody tells you, and you're like, I have been accepting unconditional or conditional love. I have been, abandoning myself for other people by wanting love so bad and thinking that that's what it looked like, that it was actually abuse dressed up as healthy love. And I just never knew. I looked at shows on TV, stories and things that I saw and heard from other kids at school. I knew that what I was being offered was crumbs, but that's all I had until I was around my grandmother. So you take what you can get, and you don't pitch a fit, because you want to be loved. Everybody wants to be loved. That's why it's most important to love yourself, but it takes us a long time, and to be away from those things that have conditioned us for long enough to realize our work and start putting that back into ourselves, start making up for lost time with yourself, because some people never get out of that cycle. They just perpetuate it and marry someone or have lots of boyfriends and girlfriends that are the same way, and they just think that's what it is. This is all I'm worth, and it's not. You are beautiful. You are so worthy. We all have very intricate, unique, special things about all of us, and you have to get those people out of your way. You have to get out of your own way and start loving yourself deeply, because you deserve it. No matter what you were taught, you deserve it. You want people to be proud of you and motivate you towards your dreams, and with no stipulations. I never had that. Never had that. I had to do that for myself. And I'm glad that I did. But once, like my uncle saw that about me and baking, he criticized it. He told me to give up on it, and then tried to use it as something to take away from me, because he knew how much hard work that I had put into it and how good I was at it. And that became something that, became a weapon for him. So it was eventually used against me, because how dare me? How dare I? That's what kind of family I was in. How dare I try to step away and shine? What is she thinking? Let's go ahead and yank that. And they did, and that's fine, because it taught me a lot of lessons about stopping chasing notoriety, trying to place so much importance on one thing like that, because even though I was really good at it, and I knew that, and a lot of people told me, I think if you do place too much importance on that fame, that notoriety, on being the best, when it gets yanked out from under you, then much like losing someone or anything, what do you have left? What do you have left? You can't place so much importance on things and have those attachments, because once you don't have them, you might think you're not worth anything, because you don't have everything that made up you. You identified with it so much and created so much of your ego to protect it. Your defense mechanisms kicked in when you thought that it might be threatened, that you did things that were out of character, that you reacted in ways that were not not healthy. You gave your power away, things like that. And so it teaches you a very big lesson about identifying with things outside of your higher self, because your lower self, which is what that is not where you should place the importance in your life. It's your higher self. It's co-creating with God. Those things can never be taken away because no one else has their hands in that. That is very protected and sacred between you and the divine. No one even has to hear those conversations. It's very private. It's it's love. That's unconditional love. That's the real unconditional love between yourself and God. That's what matters most. But who should lose access to you? You can still love them unconditionally, being that beautiful, radiant, bright light that you are, but from afar, because once they have put conditions on the love, once they have crossed your boundary of your only condition on love, which is to be healthy and safe within that love, they should lose all access to you. And I mean all of it. All of it completely. The only thing that you need is God. Unless you are a child, the only thing you need is God. And don't let anybody tell you that you need a huge pack or crowd around you for a support system, because you do not. Me and God is how I got here, and the strangers that He sent to help me. I didn't need any of those people that should have been my quote unquote support system. Didn't need them. And that makes them very angry, but I don't care, because God has my back, and He would have theirs too if they would get on their path. Love should not be fear. Are you being yourself? Are you being authentic? Are you afraid to be yourself because of how you might be judged, of how you might be abandoned, that you won't receive love if you do come out of your shell? Love should not mean control. Control or anger at you if you don't please them or meet their criteria, if you don't, if you're not the perfectionist, all of the things that they have set forth, and those things will be changing. Like I said, it'll never be good enough. So when you perfect one thing, you will have fallen short on another, and that will be another point of contention. So that's just a vicious cycle. So control or anger, which is used to control, should never be a part of love. Love should not include abuse of any kind, even if they're not laying a hand on you. So a lot of people I've talked to in the past would say, but they didn't hit me. It doesn't matter. Words hurt way worse than fists. I believe that that should be part of the law, and it's something that I will fight for, because if somebody hits you, you know exactly what that is. You may still choose to stay. It may still be part of your conditioning, or not be a deal breaker for you. It should be. That's why I'm putting it on this list. But it doesn't include just hands. It can be mind control. It can be manipulation. It can be gaslighting. It can be smear campaigns. It can be a lot of different things. A lot of different things. So don't just label abuse as laying hands. Love should not be name calling, even if it's got other names like, oh, I was just playing with you, or I'm just teasing, or toughen up, or you shouldn't be so sensitive. That's not love. They're bullying you. That is them and their ego trying to make themselves feel better than you, because they're trying to put you down and put your light out. Love should not be abandoning yourself for any reason. If you feel like you can't be yourself, or you don't even know what you like anymore because you're trying to do what everybody else wants instead, that's not love. Love should not be walking on eggshells. You should not be afraid of doing this or that because it's going to piss someone off and they're not going to love me, or we're going to have a really bad evening or a bad trip or whatever. If I make the slightest wrong move, that is not love. I have been offered help by someone that said that they loved me, and it ended up being a bait and switch because there were conditions attached. They even asked me if I was gullible. I actually saw this person today, oddly enough, which is why I'm throwing that in here, because I was like, I see you. You don't think I see you, but I see you. I seen you riding in the passenger seat of that van. But they showed their hand when they asked me if I was gullible, because it showed me that they thought that I was a pushover in their eyes and that I could be manipulated. And I think I said no, but the whole time I was just watching and observing and letting them think whatever they want while I silently planned to go left, because I knew I had already figured them out, that they were trying to manipulate by throwing God's name around, like that was gonna, because I was talking a lot about God and how he was in control. And so they knew, even though they didn't pray over a single meal, which I've never seen in a highly religious household. But those people only want to help you to get control over you, to get you where they want you, so that you need something from them and they feel like you can't leave because you need that thing or that help so bad. But like I said, all you need is God. You just have to surrender to him and show him that you trust him, and he will show up and show out every single time. And that's what those people didn't anticipate, because they didn't know God as they spoke so highly of him. They didn't know him at all, because they didn't know that I could just let go of all of that, all of those strings attached that were disguised as help, that he would catch me, that I wouldn't fall. So if someone thinks, as they're trying to manipulate you, that you're such a nice person, and they call you gullible or naive, or the name calling I'm talking about, that's not love. They're really only labeling you that because their ego is telling on themselves, and they think that they've pulled one over already, and they're so proud of themselves that they can't help. It's just spilling out of their mouth. So you have to listen. Peep the deets. Peep the deets. Watch for the details. The devil's in the details. But anyway, they think that if you're such a nice person that you won't retaliate. And retaliation, once you have integrated your dark side with your light side, you know how to be Robin Hood. Retaliation doesn't come in the form of feeding the fire, acting how they act, giving them what they want, not reciprocating what they're dishing out. You work a whole new thing. You're playing chess. They're playing checkers. You are not. They're on algebra, you're on calculus. Once you've done your shadow work and you've integrated your dark side, you know how to use it the right way, because you've been where they are. You know where they're coming from. I've said this before, they do not know your blueprint because they've not put in the work to operate that blueprint. They haven't been shown that blueprint yet, because it only comes with hard work, not sympathetic magic. It only comes by raising your vibrations. And if they're still doing this and acting that way, they have not raised their vibrations. But yeah, you have to let them. You have to let people do what they want to do and just peep the deets, so that you know how to carry on with your own self, with your own energy. You know how to protect your energy from that. You know how to, it sharpens your discernment. It shows you how to not say anything, just listen and watch and move in silence. Move in silence. Because where they thought you had to go right, ask them. Ask them now how that went for them. Like, if you've been in that situation and you know what I'm talking about, those people probably won't admit it, but you went left when they thought you were going to go right, or you found a way with God where they thought that they had backed you into a corner. So don't stay in a relationship of any kind. Any kind. If somebody tries to brainwash you. It's basically you're willing to be brainwashed by accepting those conditions, to abandon yourself, to not be your authentic, genuine self because you want to abide by someone else's conditions in order to receive love, because love should have no bounds. The only condition should be that you don't hurt me. You don't hurt me in any way, because that's not love. That's conditional love. And love should be unconditional, even if it has to be with them not having access to you. Still, it's unconditional. It just means you can't be around me anymore at all. That's all that means. So that's the only difference, and that should be the only stipulation. I've also been told that I couldn't stay in a relationship with someone unless I never mentioned the things that they did to me. And if I did bring them up, that would mean that I was a liar and that they didn't want to walk on eggshells, but I needed to walk on eggshells to avoid them being accountable for something that hurt me, that was underhanded, and they didn't want to get it out. These people with conditions will act very different in public because they know that what they're doing is not healthy. How could they love you unconditionally and they're acting like that? It means that they don't love themselves. They don't know how to love themselves, and it might be of no fault of their own. That's what they were conditioned to do. That's what they were conditioned to do, or they're threatened by you and your light and how they see that in you, and they don't want you to get away, so they want to determine your worth for you. They want you to abandon your self-worth and the love for yourself, so that you stay where you are, because they're benefiting off of that. So don't ever do that. And be careful for people that say, how great you are in public or on your friends or your family or whoever you're entertaining, that you're just fantastic. They compliment you like crazy, and then you get home and it's hell to be paid. That is not love. That is not love. So I watched a channel today, before I get into the other channel that I helped out. Well, I know that my heart was in the right place. But anyway, there's someone that I wanted to, his name is Aaron Doughty. Look him up. He's a YouTuber. He is spitting some gems, and he's not too hard on the eyes either. So ladies or gentlemen that are into that kind of thing, he is beautiful. But he brought out a baby. He was talking to this girl about a situationship, which a situationship is already stepping away from yourself, stepping away from your worth, abandoning yourself for a situationship because you're accepting the lowest terms. There's the only thing lower than that is a booty call, in which a situationship basically is a booty call, or somebody that says we're just friends when you're having sex. They just don't want to close themselves off to any other options that might present themselves, or to be committed to you in any way. But anyway, he was trying to teach this girl who was very much a fixer. She wanted a fixer-upper because she placed her worth in helping others, and thought that if she could fix them, that they would love her back the way that she really wanted love from herself. She just didn't think that she deserved it, didn't know how to love herself. But he brought a baby out on stage. I think he does like seminars. It was a room full of people. But brought a baby out on stage, and he said, would you love this baby? Just like, is there conditions? Like, does this baby have to be worthy of love? And I think he said, is this baby worthy of love? And she said, yes. And he said, what makes her worthy? And she said, just for being a baby. And she said, so she doesn't have to do anything to receive love. And she said, no. And she said, just for her spirit. And he was like, well, so are you. What makes you any different from that baby just because you've grown up? And then she said that she had been offered conditional love as a child, that she should be a good girl, and named all the things that her mother deemed as being a good girl, which was to not question her, which is red flag number one, because do as I say and not as I do is not a great example, and it's very much strings attached, because they're not ready to change, but then you need to please them by being something that they're not willing to put in the work to be themselves. So, that was another thing about labels, because the good girl was that she thought she had to be was really like a farce, because the good girl was a definition that her mother had invented to fit her strings that were attached for her daughter to receive love from her. And then he asked her to describe a bad girl. And a bad girl was somebody that didn't care what anybody else thought, that didn't need a man, that didn't need to people please, that wasn't her worth wasn't attached in someone else putting value on that, that she valued herself as a, somebody worthy of love, a bad bitch, which is what she eventually got tattooed on her to remind herself all the time that she was a bad bitch. But all of the things that meant self-love and self-worth were taught to her as being a bad girl. And that is often what society teaches us. That is the society that we live in. The labels, you have to get rid of the labels and the meanings. Throw them out and know that you are good enough anyway, and that you have to love everybody else anyway. Just some of them might not be worthy yet or ever of access to you anymore. That's the only difference, the only stipulation. But being a good girl does not mean that you kiss someone else's ass and you jump through all these hoops to be a people pleaser. That's not a good girl. And being a bad girl doesn't mean you're bad if you stand up for yourself, if you know your worth, if you love yourself, if you don't care what other people think. That is not bad. But that's what society tells us to think. And that is absolutely wrong. And I want all of you guys to recognize that. Do away with the labels and realize when someone is putting conditions on the love that they offer you, because you can go and give that to yourself any day in ways that they could never ever imagine, because they're not willing to put in the work or to learn that they deserve that love from themselves, that they can connect with God and create wonderful things without the help of anyone else, that that's all that they need. So don't let them tell you that you're right or you're wrong or you need to stay right where you are, being a perfectionist for them, when all you need to do is love yourself and cut that off and run and never look back. Never look back. Okay, so YouTubers. I'm trying to not make this too long, but it's something that I spoke out about today. So in being a baker and in having notoriety and increased fame about this, Chattanooga famous. If you've had a cake in Chattanooga, more than likely one of the cakes that you've eaten since 2013, out of all the cakes, you probably had some of my cakes in Chattanooga. A piece of my cake or a cake pop or something. Probably a cake pop, because not many people around here can make them. They are a pain in the ass. But I learned to do them really well, and I made tons of cake pops. That was my claim to fame for a while, is that my cake pops were on MTV. One of the teen moms from MTV lives in Chattanooga, Macy. Well, she's in Ooltewah, which was it's like 10 minutes from Chattanooga. If it takes 15 minutes to get anywhere around here, you're still in Chattanooga. And Ooltewah used to be kind of out in the boonies, but since the Volkswagen plant opened up here, which is like 5 minutes from Ooltewah boomed. But anyway, Macy, she has a podcast, which I've listened to as well. I really like Macy, and she's about authenticity too. But anyway, my claim to fame was that Ryan's mom ordered cake pops from me, and they picked them up from my house, and they were on one of the shows, and I was like, oh my gosh, like so excited about that. Thought I was the shit for a little while, even though nobody put my name, nobody that watched that knew that I've made those, except for people that facilitated the order, and and saw it on my Facebook sites. But anyway, I offer help on my channel and love on my channel unconditionally, because you cannot depend on YouTube. You cannot place all of your importance on your business, because any day that could go away. Just like being a baker, I identified with it so much. I thought, this is my destiny. This is what I need to do. And while you're making plans, life happens, because you didn't know what you planned out with God, and that wasn't it. Of course, I'll always have those tools. I will always be able to make great cakes. But it was just not in the cards for me to have the brick and mortar bakery like I was trying to save up for and build up to. I did put my heart and soul into it, but I shouldn't have identified with it so much because of how quickly it can be taken away. Much like YouTube channels. YouTube can take away your channel at the drop of a hat. No explanation needed, and if they do give you an explanation, it's probably very vague. It probably doesn't even fit anything that actually happened, but that's it. They can block you, take your channel. You can be making thousands a month. I've seen the girl that I commented on a post today and offered my assistance as far as my advice, things that have worked for me through my channel out there, is how I'm committed to dismantling some of these things and then helping others that are going through the same or similar, because I know I'm by far the only one, and she has gone through a lot of the things that I've gone through, and I really want to help her to surrender, because things didn't start looking up for me until I let go and let God. And I know that might sound like a cliche to a bunch of people, but it was absolutely the truth for me. I saw so many things go in my favor once I finally let go of asking other people for money. There were lots of posts, ask anybody. I was shamed for asking, but I did get a lot of help at first, so I thought I was doing the right thing. But then it started to dwindle, and that wasn't going to last forever. And then even more bad things happened, and so I was like, look, all right, I give up, God, I give up. Whatever your will is, let that will be done. And he was like, hold my beer. I'm not trying to be blasphemous, but it's just a saying that he was like, watch this. Where you thought there was no way, I'm going to part the sea. I'm going to send strangers you never thought of. I'm going to send you places that you never ever thought that you would be. And this is how you need to go. This is the way. Follow me. Hold on tight. It's a wild ride, but it's worth it. And that's what I'm trying to tell her. Trying to give her little tidbits that helped me, but that nothing ever really happened for me until I learned how to surrender and go with the flow. That God was in charge of. Me and God was in charge of that. And that can happen for her too. And it just breaks my heart. She had a huge channel. It's still blocked. She had, most people, YouTubers, once they get big, they'll start several channels and they'll create multiple streams of income through multiple channels, even reposting some, and she didn't do this, but reposting some of the same videos just on different channels. And sometimes people will think they're a fraud and they'll try to call them out, and then the creator's like, no, this is me, I have several channels, cool out, don't report these, this is me doing it several different places. And it works for them. But her biggest channel, they blocked, and I watched her all the time, and I was like, where'd she go? And I looked for her, and then eventually she popped back up on my feed under another channel, which I never knew she had. I didn't follow that one. And then she was talking about how they had shut her down, and she still has lots of followers under this other channel, and she posts there a lot, and she asks for money, and people give her money, but she is homeless. She's had her kids taken away. She can't find a job. Her food has been poisoned. She's gotten very sick more than once. Her hotel room has been entered to the point where she brought her own little security systems and locks along. People have donated money for her to do that and to have her own little cameras so that she can have proof that these things are happening to her. So yeah, my heart has gone out to her. I have prayed for her many, many times. Her old channel was called Olivia Leads with Love, and I only say that because that channel still has never been unrestricted and given back to her. But the other channel that I follow is still doing pretty good, but they don't give her the money that she deserves, and she's posted the stats for everybody to see. Like, everybody knows that she's not lying. But it's just, you can't place so much on the YouTube channel. YouTube could be a jumping off point for you. Sure, you could get, like, I think Justin Bieber and Bow Wow and several, like, people have been grassroots with YouTube and they've gotten discovered. Look at Mr. Beast. Look at Ryan's World. Goodness, me and my youngest, we watched Ryan's World like a lot. He's like a billionaire now. So is Mr. Beast. I mean, you can't go in Walmart or anywhere without seeing Ryan's World and Mr. Beast. But so that YouTube was just like a very small part of what they do now. It was a good jumping off point for them to gain entry into the industry of their choice, or to get famous and recognized, so that they could do what they really wanted to do. But all of that can be taken away in a heartbeat. So I don't do this channel for notoriety, for riches. To even if I only had 2 followers, I would still be doing the same thing that I'm doing right now, the same exact thing. So like I said, if I help one person, it's worth it. But yeah, I would never, anybody that's come over here from Olivia's new channel, I would never say anything to her that hasn't worked for me. And I just asked her to try it just for a little bit to see if things get better, because like me, they've already taken everything she was scared of losing. So what can it hurt? Can't hurt anything to just try to give up on what you're doing that's wearing yourself out. To not let other people have your food in their hands. Prepare your own food, even if it's PB&J or peanut butter and banana or whatever you like that's like that, that's cheap, healthy, travels well. I feel bad. I think she's in Miami, so I don't have any money to give her, but I wanted to give her advice and in the best possible way. So I hope she takes it constructively and with love, because that's how I meant it. I know that on YouTube, I started seeing, when I first started my channel, that so many people, like the tarot card readings, which I haven't watched in a long time, but they were talking about this kind of stuff. And then in the comments, I would see tons of people say, this is happening to me, this is happening to me, this, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, this has to stop. This has to stop. But the only way that you can really stop it, and you can't control other people. You can only control yourself. So the work that you can put in, not only by surrendering and let go, let God, is to stop paying it attention. Because what you pay attention to, talk about, post about, give any energy to, is going to grow. So anything that's happening around you that is less than desirable or harmful or abusive, stop paying it any attention, so that at least on your end, you're not helping it grow anymore. I know that she has stalkers, and she posts pictures of things that are happening to her all the time. And the best advice that I could give her on that is stop paying them any attention. Stop paying them any attention. Just act like they are not there, because even though it might bother you and it's very wrong, if you pay them any attention, it's definitely not going to go away. It's only going to get worse. It's going to grow. And they want your reaction. They want to drive you crazy with it. So don't give them what they want. You just keep doing you, with you and God. That's all that matters, is you and God. That's all the support that you need. He's just waiting for you to surrender and show him that you trust him. And he will take care of everything else. If he needs you to do anything, he will let you know. He will smack you in the face and he will let you know. Get your butt up and do this. It'll be crystal clear. Might be through songs, synchronicities, billboards, what other people, strangers coming to you, whatever. It will come to you. Your intuition will tell you what to do. Your discernment will tell you what's not good for you. All you need to do is let go and let God, and stop paying attention or giving energy to anything else. And that's all I have to say today before we go into an hour again. I love you guys. God loves you. You're never alone. See ya.